Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome, or hopefully it's welcome back to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is fashion, travel, and fitness. And we are going to be going on quite a journey with celebrity publicist Tracy Lamourie. So before we bring her out, I'm going to bring out my co-host and friend. If you don't know this woman, you need to get to know her. Her name is DIANN BOEHM. She is also an award-winning author, and she is a teacher. She is a performer. She's a singer. She is a co-host here. She's one of our expert presenters on the Talking Heads platform. She's also on the Talking Heads panel, and she is also an elevated listener. She's the queen of networking. She's lived all over the world, and she's a dear friend. Let's welcome her to the program. Hi, DIANN.
Hi, you're always so kind, Dr. JACALYN. Thank you.
Well, it's very true. You've done a lot for all of us here at USA Global TV, and I personally thank you for everything that you do and everything you bring every day.
Oh, you're so kind, and I love it anyway.
Well, we were just on the show with the UK and our international correspondent there, Helena Shard, and she was sharing with us about what's going on with the royal family and a lot of things going on with London and the UK. And today we have someone who was just here on another show last week, Tracy. She is an international award-winning publicist, and I am very interested in speaking to her myself. I know you and I were chatting about that via text or something. And she's here on our show because she's traveled all over the world. She's a celebrity publicist, and I want to bring her out and find out what her story is when it comes to traveling. But before I do that, I'm going to spotlight you, DIANN. And if you could share a little bit with our audience, especially people joining us for the first time, who is DIANN BOEHM and why does writing mean so much to you?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Welcome, everyone, to our show. And as Dr. JACALYN said, I've always been in this world where I'm around kiddos teaching, adults teaching, doing workshops. And I moved from that into taking my storytelling, because I've always loved to tell stories, and putting them to print. So for the past 5 or 6 years, I've been writing and new stories, as well as taking stories I've written from a long time ago and putting them in hard copy and sharing them with kids. My stories are about love and inspiration, and to love yourself and to be kind to others. And that's who I am. Thank you, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you, DIANN. And I'm playing this clip because I feel like it's so important now more than ever. So tell us a little bit about Song of Peace.
Okay, sure. And I'm really excited, as you know. I don't really like bragging that much, but I'm so proud to announce that A Song of Peace won 2 awards this weekend. It was awarded honorable mention in the Book Fest 2022 conference, which was very surprising and exciting. I mean, I really wanted it. So I'm really excited about that. And then it's very difficult to become a Story Monster approved book. And this one, Story Monster approved book by the educational magazine, Story Monster for parents. And it concentrates on children's books. So I'm excited about that. And the little boy, Tommy, all he wants is to have peace in the world. And he shares how he thinks he can help bring a little bit of peace in the world, and has a great little twist at the end that I have hoped, and now I have found that readers love the ending of the story. Thank you, Dr. JACALYN.
Yay, congratulations, DIANN.
So thank you.
Let's take a look at this clip, Song of Peace, and the voiceover is by Alcini. He is actually the voice of USA Global TV, as well as a co-host, a talking head, and an elevated listener. Here we go, and then we'll bring out Tracy.
All right.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diann Floyd BOEHM's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan,
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at DIANNFloydBOEHM.com.
Yay!
Yay. Everyone did such a great job, and my friend Ron Parker, who did the Filipino opening up, is Tagalog is the actual pronunciation of the Filipino language. So it's beautiful to open up with that, isn't it?
It certainly is. My heart is filled with joy.
Oh, great.
And now we're going to start traveling with celebrity publicist Tracy. Let's bring her out. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm Diann. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that piece, Dr. Jack, that I'm literally going to order that for my grandkid who's still 6 months old, but growing quick. No, that's epic. And Diann, that's not bragging. That's really just sharing something. It's good to share your accomplishments, especially when it's something like that. If you hadn't have shared that, then I wouldn't have seen that. And, my grandson wouldn't get that message, and who knows who else, So,
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. I'm really proud. I'm really, that's great. That's a really good message. And well done. It looks really, really engaging, and the drawings look great and stuff too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. That's so nice.
Thank you so much.
And Tracy, you were here last week on Authentic Achievements on Friday with.
And I saw the show, by the way.
Oh, so we've already met, and now I get to meet you.
It's amazing. So before we go into the travel part, Tracy, you shared a lot of great information about people wanting to get their brand, their business, their offerings out to the world, but people don't take the steps to do it. And you've been featured in major publications, television, podcasts, radio, all over the world. So before we start traveling with Tracy, if you could talk to us from a publicist standpoint, how can we get ourselves out there on major publications so that people know who we are?
Step one is what we already spoke about with Diann there, about not feeling like you're bragging when you talk about the things that you can do or the things you've done or your accomplishments. And that's really common with women, especially women, but actually not just women. There's a quote somewhere, I can't remember who said it, but it's a really elevated person. And they said, we don't serve the world by acting small or feeling small. So fight against that and realize you are an expert in whatever you do, whatever you know, whatever your business is or whatever your creative field is. You wouldn't be doing that if you didn't know in your heart that you were good at it. So take that same confidence and feel you use media opportunities. And people think, gee, how do you do that? Well, I mentioned in the other show, which people should go back and listen to because it was a great one, that there are actually a lot of things you can do right after listening to this. So you can check out things like Harrow, Help a Reporter Out, which is a free service, a Source Bottle in Australia, another free one. And then there's a whole bunch of paid services like that and hashtags. And if you dig deep into it, you can see basically reporters, podcasters, bloggers, and main television, all the magazines you've ever heard of, from Reader's Digest to Cosmo. That's how they get their sources, or a good part of the way they get their sources. So when you read an article that says, mom of 3 in Minnesota talked about, how she put her kid to sleep, or entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneur, blah, blah. A lot of the time they're on quick deadlines and they're looking for sources, and they reach out looking for sources. looking for those sources. So if you, whether you're a publicist or whether you spend all kinds of time combing these things and learning the difference between an editorial response, which is giving the gift of your knowledge as a source, and an advertorial response where you're like, oh, well, they shouldn't, a great example of this is a client I had where they were talking about house renovations. They were experts in house renovations, and Reader's Digest was looking for a quote on difficulties people ran into when they were renovating their bathrooms. So it was an opportunity for any experts in the space to be quoted, blah, 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 do not do this or do this, says Bob of the renovation company. Instead, I had to educate the client because his answer was so editorial or advertorial. It was like, well, bathrooms are really difficult to renovate. So a better thing to do would be to contact my company because we'll do it for a really cheap price. So you have to understand the difference between editorial and advertorial, and then you have to know where to find these opportunities. And if you can put those two puzzle pieces together, there are all kinds of free media opportunities in the biggest magazines in the world, biggest, all the TV stations, shows, podcasts, elevated podcasts like this one, where you can talk about your reason for being, who you are, why you do what you do, as well as your company. So, or your creative endeavor, or your not-for-profit.
Great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's fantastic. All right. So now we know how to get ourselves out there. And if we are interested in working with you, Tracy, what do we need to do?
Well, I thank you. Yeah, I do work across borders and across industries. So literally anywhere in the English-speaking world or anywhere that has English-speaking media, from Toronto to Dubai to Los Angeles. So you can find me. I'm the only Tracy Lamourie out there. So you can finally find me on Facebook under my name, on LinkedIn under my name, on Instagram it's Tracy Lamourie PR Media, or Lamourie Media on Twitter, and you can contact with me on any of those platforms, or lamouriepr@gmail.com. And I'm happy to offer any listener, any viewer, a free consultation where we can talk specifically to kind of get their head around how it would help them, what would be the first step we would take. And just the last little, this is that advertorial part, but I do offer anybody who hears me, I offer absolutely, truly affordable entry points into PR. And the reason for that is because I do so much speaking and educating on it. I don't want to get people at small businesses and solopreneurs all excited about it, because it is an integral part of what they should be doing to build not only their brand, but their thought leadership, on a global level. Excited about it, and then they can't access it. So I've created several different price points that anybody in business can get into. So let's have a conversation about it.
That's fantastic. I mentioned before that I'm going to be having a conversation. I was actually going to talk to you today, but here you are. So I'll talk to you later.
We'll be talking all kinds of ways.
Yes. So I know, Diann, you've traveled extensively. Tracy, you've traveled extensively. Let's talk about traveling with Tracy, celebrity publicist. What does that mean?
So when I was young, and much before I was a celebrity publicist, I'd saved up all my money at one of my first entry-level jobs, and I went backpacking with my best friend for 4 months, in 1991, when we were 21, all across Europe. So that's where my travel bug really started. We went to all Paris and London and everything, Austria and Switzerland and Germany and all those places. And then I came back and started working, and started having kids, and didn't have a lot of money to travel probably for the next 15 years, 20 years. My husband and I were just working, doing our thing, and that was kind of put to the side. Then when I was 42, I started, which you can hear the story in the other show we did. When I was 42, when I started becoming a publicist, and very quickly started working with, just like I said, across industries, and with everybody from creatives to filmmakers. One of my first clients was Professor Angela Sadler Williamson, who's the cousin of Rosa Parks, and had done a documentary, which is now on Amazon Prime, and about her cousin, and written a children's book. And she was one of my first clients. So I got very quickly into the space, and we would travel. I traveled with her to Detroit, for example, for film festivals. And then as things started revving up and I had more and more clients across industries, people started to pitch them, and they'd be doing speaking events. And I had different clients with different projects going on. So in 2019 was a perfect example. I think 2018, I started traveling a lot for work. that was Los Angeles and, during Oscar week. So that was kind of baptism by fire. I got to go to Oscar after parties. Is it with like 2 days notice, literally, for this girl from Toronto. Okay, I guess I'm like, right in the right in the thick of it on what is it, Hollywood Boulevard, trying to find a place at 6 p.m. on Oscar night. I didn't have tickets to the Oscars, but after parties to get my hair done and my hair, I didn't have that. Now it's a bit messy, but I actually have a celebrity stylist who does my color and all that now. I didn't have that then, so here I was trying to buy, like a curling iron on Hollywood Boulevard because there was no hairstylist available on Oscar night. But the next year in 2019 is really indicative of how things started to go up until, COVID hit, where at the beginning of the year, my husband and I were sent to Jamaica. And that one was really interesting because we thought we were going to be back and forth with meetings across the country. That was actually on a cannabis project because Canada had just legalized cannabis and had become a market, an international emerging market leader. And I had a client going there on a tourism project that was interested, and they were talking to the government. It was very high level. We thought we'd be traveling across, and it turned out they brought us there. They brought us to a resort and said, okay, here, just relax for 7 days because the resort had something to do with what they were going to be doing. And they basically wanted us to take notes about the resort. Easiest business trip. Just relax for 7 days. There's not much internet. Just, take notes about what we should do and what your perceptions are. So that was the best. And then 2 weeks after that, I was in Los Angeles again. And then, later that year, Las Vegas, where we ended up finding ourselves on our 25th wedding anniversary, me and my business partner, in Vegas. So of course we had to do what you do in Vegas on your anniversary. We got married again by Elvis. So yeah, all kinds of crazy stories. We went to Malta a couple of times, and now that's become, which is a little tiny place in the Mediterranean that nobody in North America thinks about. We met like one Canadian who was living in London when we were there, and one American in 10 days, but it's full of European tourists. But it's this tiny little sun-kissed island just under Sicily and above Africa, and we've fallen in love with it. So now we want to go and stay there 2 months of the year. So yeah, all kinds of travel adventures for all kinds of clients. So whenever somebody has somewhere to go and they need me to go there, I'm like, have passport, we'll travel.
I love that. So exciting. What a great story.
And to be married by Elvis. Hello.
Woo!
Yeah, remarried. Like, I mean, I don't think I would have actually gotten that. But I mean, just because I don't know how crazy that would have been. But we were already 25 years married, right? So we were like, I was posting going, look, we did something crazy. I don't know if this Vegas thing is going to work out.
So Tracy, I want to ask you a question. So you shared how you were your 20s and all the traveling, and then 42, this major change took place. So how have you grown as a person as a result of being getting all these accolades and being so successful and being the person that people turn to?
Well, I think in terms of that, I try to, because I think with that growing as a person would be to keep your head on your shoulders and to not get too excited about that. Like, I've always been confident in myself. So in some ways, this is like, yeah, I always knew I could do that stuff. I had accolades for different kinds of things in my 20s, that maybe the mainstream wasn't as supportive of. I shouldn't say that. I mean, because we ultimately, I wrote my first press release about an innocent man on death row. And it took, 20 years, 24 years before he was ultimately released and that was proven. So in the early days when we were doing that, what the heck are you talking about? But we were getting awards and very renowned, well known in that space. And we were in way before my publicist days. I've been in, there's like 20 books that reference my work as an anti-death penalty activist and a human rights activist. And then, when Jimmy was freed, Jimmy Dennis, if you want to Google that, he's an R&B artist now, becoming very successful with a lot of stuff going on. A factual innocence case. But anyway, that's where I learned how to write my press release, and we got success out of that. But the success then wasn't accolades or business trips. The success there was, he was finally freed. All those 20 years of, 10 years ago, I would have had any kind of media attention. Half of it would be begging your audience to look at the site and help save his life. And now I can just say, go check him out on all streaming platforms. He's a great R&B artist, represented by Lamourie Media. So, that's been the journey. And I think a lot of the growth came before. And to me, I love the parties and I love the success and I love the travel, of course. But really, when it comes down to it, what I love most about this is that young activist me is proud of what, corporate me, because we incorporated now, is doing, which is still giving a voice to people. And, whilst that's for pay now, for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs or creatives, it's still always people that actually believe it, for people that I wanted to succeed for. So there's no real difference in some ways from that. My whole journey has been just doing things I believe in and that I want to do. And somehow that's led to this successful life that everyone's like, oh, wow, now, and travel and all that. And I didn't go to school for this. I just literally, learned how to do it organically because it needed to be done. And that's how you really learn how to do it, I think.
Yes, I totally agree. And what I really love is the three of us have all come into our own later in life. Like we
Yeah.
all were doing whatever we were doing, and we were doing well at that. But now in another phase of our lives, we're doing what we really have passion for. So how cool is that?
It
Yeah,
just shows you chapters of life, right?
exactly, because job-wise, I was just entry level, and then I guess a little bit more than entry level, but I was not passionate with the work I was doing, which was, in terms of the money that, we're talking about the activist stuff I was doing. I wasn't paid for that. For money in those days, I was working two jobs, sales and, entry level marketing and just selling whatever, like and it doesn't, that's just how I paid the bills. I never heard of a life or believed in it, a life where you could actually get up and go, all right, let me get to my desk and see what emails are in here. Like, honestly, it's like Monday, okay. Sunday, I'm like, all right, I wish everybody else would get back to work, because now I'm waiting on things.
That's so wonderful.
It is. I do want to say hello to a few people who are watching us live right now and let me know. Marie McGuire, Ann O'Connell, and Kathy Fulton. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yay. Okay, so we now know what you do. We know that you do it well and you really help people. When do we reach out and hire you? What stage of our business, entrepreneurship, solopreneur, when do we say, hey, this is when I need a publicist?
So I always say there's no wrong time, because from my perspective, that's not a sales pitch. From my perspective, it's about building the person and the thought leadership. That phrase, thought leadership, which just means you're present. So when I Google you, if you say you're looking for investment, you don't just have your investment deck and your socials, which we can all create, with paying someone to do it. But when I Google you, if I see you're interviewed in major media that you can't pay to get in, when you're talking about publicists, we're talking about earned media. You're not going to hire a publicist that's going to present opportunities for you to pay to get into things. We're presenting you as a source to media where they're excited to interview you, and you can't buy those opportunities, if you know what I'm saying. So what that does is it gives you that validation, that third-party credibility. If you're looking for, investments, so say you're in pre-seed phase or investment, seeking phase. One of my clients told me that I changed her business and her life because we made investors take her more seriously, which is a big thing when they're dropping $1 million or more, right? And in terms of a book release, so if you have an event or a book release or something like that, you may be, targeting it because you want most of the media attention, when they can go and buy the book or something like that. But generally, from a publicist perspective, is I'm building you up so that whatever you're holding in your hand to sell, you have that credibility, and you have more eyes on you, number one, and you have more credibility behind your name and what you're doing. So today you might be, explain it. Today you might be selling, the book. Tomorrow you might be going in, to apply for a panel or a award opportunity or whatever it is. It's my job to elevate and celebrate all the things that you're doing and to raise you up so that people are paying attention. So there's no real wrong time. It could be 2 months before. We're using an example of a book here, but it could be whether you're launching a company or, because in terms of the media, your company or your book, unless you're talking about media focusing on startups or media that 20% of media that talks about, a new book release, most media isn't talking about the thing that you're selling. They're talking about the idea or the founder or the concept or the social issue that you're solving. So it's about you, the person, and your expertise. And then it develops into that. I mean, unless you have a book launch, and then obviously we're also selling it and getting the book reviews. And so there's the product and or the business and or, we're supporting your marketing. And then it's the PR standing alone. PR, public relations, is elevating you and who you are and what you do and bringing more eyes to it and more excitement and more cachet and professionalism to it from a media perspective.
Thank you, Tracy. That was really good information. And I'm wondering, as a celebrity publicist or for someone who is a publicist, are you able to work with people? We all are aware of what happened a couple of weeks ago with the slap heard around the world, but can a publicist help someone who also has negative press or a Google search that's not very empowering?
For sure. I mean, and like I always say, the job is, communication and contact, and a lot of it is people management. So when you're dealing with, you have to unwrap, what are the issues. I'm not going to talk about that particular thing in too much depth because I don't really know. I don't know the people, so I don't know the issues, so I don't want to. But just speaking generally about a celebrity getting into a whatever issue, or even if it couldn't, maybe it's not a celebrity, maybe it's a high profile business figure or something. I don't like to go in and I'm very still ethical and heart centered, and I still want activist me to be proud of me today. So I'm not the one that goes in and like to solve or not to solve, I shouldn't say, to like make a purse out of it, what they say, to make a silk purse out of a salesy or whatever. But if it's a good person and they're making a mistake, and there's just, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen where just there's a misunderstanding, or even if something happens, that person, just the same as we did in death penalty activism, that's still a human being, and they have a perspective, and letting people understand what happened, not just us talking about what might happen, is always helpful. So I always counsel when I've had clients that have got in hot water or had negative light shined on them. And in this case that I'm thinking of, it really was not any fault of the client. That's no PR spin. It was somebody that they had previously been connected with, already disassociated themselves from like 2 years previously for completely separate reasons. And then that person, was an idiot and got whatever online thing. And so I was like, you know what? No, people are thinking that you're connected with that person business wise, so you should make a statement about it. So I help them formulate a statement. The PR rep does, because they can't always articulate what they're saying. So in her case, she was just like lost and overwhelmed and just like, and I was like, I heard her, and then I said, well, is this the kind of thing? And we crafted what was actually the truth. And then after that, it literally, it's silent. She said from one day to the next, she stopped getting those messages. And partly that's because of who her publicist was. This is not waving, I'm not bragging about myself. I'm just saying reputation matters, right? In this situation, it was a social issue and people were attacking her. And because her publicist was me, and I have a stellar reputation in those specific areas, not as a publicist, but as a person that isn't just new to the game in social justice or those issues. So when I put out this thing with my name on it too, saying, people knew there's no way, you couldn't pay Tracy to say that if it wasn't true about that. There's, and so reputation is everything to it, especially PR. And people think, oh, like they have their publicist write the thing. Well, yeah, but who's their publicist? And the publicist reputation matters too, right? So you can't, and also people will hire you to keep their names out of the news sometimes when they're at that level.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because your reputation's on the line as well, because you're promoting this person.
Absolutely. So. And I wouldn't touch, and it's true, not just me as where I come from as an activist and all that, but even generally, a publicist has to be very careful. You can't just take someone's money. And even if it's not a bad story, even, when a client will come to me, and it happens very rarely, because if I've determined I like them, I've probably already got a million ideas about, but if for some reason I didn't think, I could get, like if I'm not feeling it, I wouldn't even take them on, because I feel like, and I didn't read any book about this or go to publicist school, but I feel like the first thing you should look for in a publicist is someone who, as obviously you're looking at what they can do and what they've done and everything, but then when you're looking between skilled people, is how do they feel about your project? Are they excited? Do they understand it? If someone tells me something and I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I can publicize anything, but if my feeling inside is like, oh yeah, I can see that, but I don't think I'm the publicist for the job. I normally am talking to someone and I'm like, we're not even halfway through the conversation. And I'm like, and I'm like already ahead of myself going, oh, okay, assuming you hire me. I'm not assuming you're going to hire me. You don't have to. I'm just saying I've already got a million ideas, because I wouldn't take their money if not, right? So, but also, yeah, you don't want to I wouldn't, you don't want to, I mean, you will destroy your reputation. I mean, that you've built up, so that reporters even open your email. Even something like if it's not a story, like I can't take someone's money because they have, a carpet cleaning company and they want me to write to the media. They're going to pay, even if they're going to pay $10,000 for a week's work. If I was to take that contract and try to make it news and tell all the media about the new carpet cleaning company special, they would never, my company would be done because they would never open another email of mine because the media has to go through so many incoming emails. Part of the reason now publicists have become more important, even in a world where you'd think we would have been less important now because everybody can look up some email reporters or they can find them on Twitter and send their story. Well, what happens is people do, and they get a million stories, which is great until the reporters start realizing 80% of what they're getting is so advertorial that it's not a story and they don't have time to go through all that. So now they just ignore most of what they get. Oh yeah, I have a and if it comes from a publicist, even if they don't know that publicist, they're going to open it knowing our job is to not send them crap. As much as our job for the client is to get the media, where our job is also to not send the media stuff that's not news. They want vetted stuff from us, and then they're going to decide if it's for their audience on that day. But it's up to us to only give them stuff that is potentially for their audience.
And great points. It sounds like if you as the person without a publicist start sending all this information, you might even get put on a list like do not
Burn
open
your
list.
bridges. Yeah, no, exactly. It's sad because I mean, when I started, I wasn't a publicist, but that's just what's happened because they get so much now. They go in. I mean, it's easy to go and look to see how to write a press release, but it's that content of that release that's important, right? And the header, and they've just learned over time that, you know, to the point where I've heard, and not everybody, some entrepreneurs get, you know, media, you might know someone, or even you just get a good, you put a, you do it right, you get a good header, you got a good story, you get it to the right. So I'm not saying you can't get into media. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that we would have thought it would have gotten more, you know, democratic, for lack of a better word, meaning people would have been able to, because of the access. But what's happened, I mean, there's still, you can still find a lot of reporters. Is another good thing. Like I said earlier, go on Twitter, find the help reporter out. So those are, if you're using the right channels and crafting your message to what they need, as opposed to, you know, just an ad for you or your company. It's a, once you get that sweet spot, then it becomes a matter of time management. So if you want to spend 2 or 3 hours a day doing that, you know, or even more, like I spend 3 or 4 hours a day going through all those things, and then my clients only, if they're on an hourly, pay for the 10 minutes when I pulled out their thing, you know, and started working. So they're, you know, if you want to spend all your time going through looking for those opportunities and awards and all that, which is going to be a good point, then you're going to spend a lot less time doing what you do in your business. So, and as entrepreneurs, we're already overwhelmed. So
We don't have any more time. No more time for that. So we have to work with you. And we talked a little bit before the show began about fashion is one of our topics here. And you have clients in the fashion industry as well, correct?
I do. I'm, again, cross industry, and one of my clients right now, I should have brought the boots down because I even said this week, can the publicist get? We were sending out a couple of samples to some, you know, major media, TV and stuff, and then I was like, can the publicist get a pair of those boots? So one of my clients is Michaela, and she was like, of course, and I was like, oh, and then I wore them out. No word of a lie. So my client is Michaela V. She's literally a supermodel. She's been on all kinds of, like, in the fashion world, she's a household name, not so much to us, you know, readers, but she's been on like front pages, front covers of like Vogue Italy or whatever, all these major things. And she's out of New York City, but she turned fashion, high-end footwear designer, and she's got gorgeous pieces. Michaela V shoes, if you Google it. So she's got gorgeous, you know, like long, nice heels, beautiful. I don't wear the long, you know, big heels because, you know, I'm an old lady, but she has some gorgeous boots, like where I can wear them. And oh my gosh, and her, I mean, they're few $100s, but you know, they're like, they look way more than that. So basically the thing was like for people to be able to afford high-end boots that aren't like insanely priced and stuff like that. So anyways, I swear this is not PR spin. I wore them. My mom is not always, you know, like full of compliments of the first thing. She hadn't seen her in like a few months, and I started walking towards her in my Michaela V boots, and the first thing she was like, just elevated your whole look, you know, like literally you know, footwear makes a difference. Anyway, so yeah, fashion, I'm lucky now that I get to work with brands like that. I have another client that's noggin oil hair, but they do like section styles and dreads and all that kind of thing. They have a special product for any kind of section style, and they, you know, mod locks, she does my hair color, and yeah, which is a high-end hair place that I haven't seen in obviously today, but you know, they do my hair, and yeah, so all kinds of different brands. And that's the nice thing about again, PR. It's in Canada where I started. It's not a huge population, so we don't really specialize, have sport publicists or fashion publicists or whatever. I started doing, all of it. And then very quickly, most of my clientele was stateside. Right now, I'd say about a good 70% of my clients are stateside, with maybe 20% in Canada and another 10% internationally. And yeah, so the fashion projects are definitely more fun. And I'm always laughing because, I never would have thought in high school I'd be at these high-end fashion events and these, gorgeous fashion booths. It's just crazy. I don't know how this life was created, but again, it was created on activism and doing something for someone else. And I never could have seen all this stuff. So do things.
That's exciting. Congratulations on the boots too. I would love that. Hey, a pair of boots for me, Diane.
Right, I'll have to maybe we'll get Michaela V on one of these shows.
Yes, why not?
Just to be on this one, actually. This is the one.
Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah. This is the one. Diane, so you've worked with publicists before, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Just started, actually.
And what is the value that you found?
I didn't know about you before. Sorry. But already,
okay.
I mean,
I support other publicists too. But yeah, I know entrepreneurs, this is why I do some thinking about it, right? They don't know about it. And then you go explain what's the difference can be. It's just
So already, I mean, it's just been 3 weeks with the publicist, Mickey, and he's out of Canada, by the way. And wow, he has me hopping. I've been on, I think, 8 different platforms already. And he's just amazing. He works really hard. And I never, you think movie stars are supposed to have publicists. So it was just,
right. That's why I started talking on podcasts. But no, you are exactly the kind of person I am. Both of you are. Yeah. I mean, look, that book is a publicist's dream. Are you kidding? That's, you and all of the different things. This is exactly, again, you guys are already doing amazing things. And that's where I was doing that podcast one day and those words elevate. I was talking about how it's not about making. They were like, oh, normally I wouldn't have a publicist on because, they think of, it's not authentic or it's about, and I was like, no, I'm actually the opposite of that. I own some things I really believe in. And they're like, yeah, that's why we had you on. And that's when I said, it just kind of came to me. It's about elevating and celebrating what you're already doing. We're not creating awesome JACALYN or awesome DIANN. We're not making that up. We're just presenting to the world the stuff that you're doing in your corner, the people in your block see the people, and saying, look. And that's the only thing that's different between the people that you see on the biggest, stages of the world and you, is that somebody told those people about them.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And what I also learned, which I think you stated on the show, and I know this isn't fashion, but I love what we're talking about, is that it brings credibility to you by having a publicist. You can continue doing what you do well, meaning, like for me, writing, speaking, reading to children, entertaining, right? And the publicist works the magic of their Rolodex and who they feel you will compliment on the other side.
And shining that light on you and making sure people are seeing it. And then, oh, okay. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're in, so yay.
Right. So Dr. JACALYN should be on every single thing you have. Because I am a true fan of Dr. JACALYN, just so you know. We have not met in person, but I know we're kindred spirits. But the one thing I see for all 3 of us is that, and I hope it's inspiring our listeners. And again, I've always said, and I learned this from my mom, is that we have chapters in life, and that, every little thing we learn is adding up to something else. So for you, it was learning how to do business, doing all these types of things. And because you learned how to do all of that with your activism, right? Look where you are today. But it was like the angels needed you to learn all of this so that you were able then to get that man free. But they had to get you learning all these little tools in order to help them, his angels, make things happen. Does that make sense? I'm just a true believer that the universe needs us.
No, so much, because it's so bizarre too. Because again, we always go back just to end on that. When we started that, my husband and I were like in our early 20s. Jimmy Dennis, we were 28. Jimmy Dennis was the same age. He was in prison. Nobody was paying attention. innocent on death row. Sure you are, And we were completely powerless. We didn't know what a publicist was. We were a couple of salespeople with internet access in Canada. My husband learned how to literally, because we didn't what are we supposed to do? We can't do anything. But we got in ourselves over our heads. So what do we do? So my husband literally did one little thing, learned how to make a website, and I did one little thing, learned how to write a press release. And the rest, anyway, fast forward, we kept on doing the activism thing, whatever. It wasn't until just a couple of years before he got out that it occurred to me that I could probably, use this press release skill thing to get other things going on too. And that's when it occurred to me to be a publicist. So by the time he got out, and we're still talking every day, now he calls him a cell instead of a cell, we always say. By the time he got out, he's an R&B singer now, getting some major attention that I can't even talk about. But if we're talking a couple of years, there's some crazy stuff going on the entertainment side, is all I can say, beyond just music for this story. So he's an R&B singer now, and we're like, what, global, international, award-winning publicist? Like, wait a minute, what? And now we're writing for, and literally, so again, now instead of being like, hey, please help me save his life, I could say, Jimmy Dennis available on all streaming platforms, represented by Lamourie Media. And we're just like, and when we were interviewed by Rolling Stone, they were just like, what? And I'm like, because they didn't know the story. They thought, oh, he's got a publicist now. I'm like, no. I'm not his publicist. I am now, but we were 25 years out. We're just some dumb activists from Canada trying to get you guys to listen.
Wow, what a story. That is
And then
so
they're like,
powerful.
wait a minute, now there's a whole different story that we didn't even, wait, what? So now Rolling Stone wrote that up about, me and my husband, and it's all in. You can search Jimmy Dennis, Rolling Stone, and my name, and that crazy article will come up, and you'll just be like, what? And that's pre-publicist. So I don't know. It's been a lot. What is that Rolling Stone? They say, what a long, strange trip it's been. That's some song. That's all I can say.
Yes, I think that's it.
And back to trips. Travel is life. So I'm glad it's all opening up again. And anybody who doesn't do, I realized the other day, now I'm starting to get my money. I'm not rich by any means, but definitely doing a lot better than we were before. Now that we can travel and have these leisure things that we can spend. But you know what? There's not one time, no matter how much money I have had or not had, and most I haven't had anything when I was younger, I've never regretted a penny I've spent on any travel or experience. Never. I've regretted money spent on a lot of things, but never, ever a penny or ever have I thought that was badly spent. So, at the end of your life, you're never going to be like, I should have bought a bigger TV, like the ad says, or I should have whatever. But you might be like, hey, I always wanted to see the Taj Mahal, or I wish I'd gone to Paris.
Or gotten married. Yeah, by Elvis.
Yeah.
And by the way, girls, we have a question which I really want to put up, and it's from someone who was here on our platform with Diann doing an interview, and now she is on our team. She's a co-host and she is an expert talking head, and her name is Kathy Fulton, and she's a question for you, Tracy. The question is, what can you do for an interior designer?
Oh my gosh, you know what? Let me loose on that one. I'm not kidding. Because
go for it.
For some reason, interior design, real estate, anything to do with your life in your house is huge. You know what I mentioned at the top of the show, all those different opportunities I spend 3 or 4 hours a day going through to find media. No word of a lie, almost every day. I definitely every day I see something that's to do with real estate that sometimes an interior designer can answer. But literally almost every day you see something specifically for an interior designer. So you'll see questions like, whether for an article for Reader's Digest with a deadline of 4 o'clock on Wednesday, we're looking for interior, literally, I saw something yesterday, interior designers that talk about, what color, blah, 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 or what, on a daily basis, we see incoming opportunities. So what happens with those is I say, oh, look, Kathy, I have a Reader's Digest reporter that's looking for quotes on whatever. What do you say to this? You give me your answer, or you type me your answer, or you tell me and I transcribe it. I send it to the reporter with your links and with your, bio, talking about how you're a compelling guest and why you're the expert or whatever it is, whether it's a show or whether it's just a written piece. Because a lot of times they're not even interviewing you. They just want literally a quote. So we talk for 2 minutes. I get your quote. I send it 2 weeks later. They choose you and you're in Reader's Digest, which is pretty career building. And then on the other side of that, we also write press releases and media advisories about whatever you're doing. So if you've seen something in the market or you've done something interesting or you have an insight about, oh, gee, a lot of people are, like for example with COVID, this would be, a lot of people are redesigning their homes, for working at home was a big story 2 years ago. So if that was something that you had noticed, we might put out a press release saying, a local designer says, so we could put out your messaging in a topical release or your messaging about something exciting you've done, as well as literally on a daily basis responding to incoming media opportunities. And then we also, look the same way we do for mainstream media. We look at all kinds of podcasts that are looking for guests in all kinds of different realms. And then as well, beyond what you do as an interior designer, as a woman in business, there's a ton of other media opportunities, just women entrepreneurs. Awards, like I won Women of Inspiration. That particular award is international, and they've got like 18 different categories. I won for women in media, but there's all kinds of stuff. So all these things elevate you. So having a publicist has somebody literally looking around the world for speaking opportunities for you if you're into that, media opportunities. And again, some people don't want to be on TV or radio, but they're super comfortable just answering their questions and sending it off to Reader's Digest, which is 80% of it. So we find those opportunities that, work for you and get them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kathy, for the question. And I'm really thinking, I don't know, just popped into my brain that we need to have you for the USA Global TV team. We need to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have 3 teams of people here. So great. Thank you. Yeah, let's talk about it. Any other questions from anyone? We have a few minutes left, so if you want to type it in there. So Tracy, you really have covered so much incredible content. And I know, as I mentioned the other day, you certainly have piqued my interest. I'd like to have you as my publicist. So when are we going to be chatting?
Well, later today we could talk, but tomorrow it's up to you. I'm back in the office. Tracy is in the office. I had an event on Monday night, and it was nice, back to the perks of the publicist job. Like this was like a Chi VIP event for an upcoming blockchain thing that's coming in Toronto. And I went to see them in Malta. So when they were coming here, I was like, oh, certainly I'm going to get tickets here. And it ended up being like a very closed 150 people only high end. And of course, me and my husband were there with the gorgeous dinner and the fancy food in the bar. So yeah, I came home and then I waited from my desk for 4 hours. I'm recovering from it for like the next 9 hours. I got so much going on. So
that's something that you can also do. You can help your clients get into certain events.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of my clients had an ask she was in the Canadian cannabis industry. She's an older lady, senior. And Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong was coming as a spokesperson, but just literally for a launch party of an event. And it was not public. It was not even allowing industry people in, like no industry people, big media people nobody could get in. I ended up calling and having like an hour-long conversation. It's pretty funny. Told him about PR. I ended up saying, well, the deal ended up being after like half an hour. I couldn't get her in any way. They didn't care, whatever. He's asking about, is she, how many people does she have on Instagram and all that? And I was like, but you want to talk about influencers? I'm like, I don't have that many on Instagram. But you want to talk influence? I'm an influencer. Who do you want to get on the phone? And then I offered him an hour of free PR. I told him what I charge, corporate in the States if I have it, what I can't charge. And he was like, okay. Anyway, I got her into the party, and Tommy Chong comes in, and I'm literally PR girl. I had not only got her to the party, but I had her having the first photograph. I wrote like 2 minutes of conversation where they're laughing on video and exchanging cards. He's telling her, keep on doing what she's doing before anybody at the event that was actually hosting it got up. So yeah, wow. She was like, "You're a PR ninja." I thought he just grab him because he walks in, just like I walk up, publicist. That's what I always say to the celebrities. They know right there. You're not gonna bug them. You're not gonna like, you know what I mean? It's a business thing. You're like in and out, boom, boom. I need a photo. They need it too. I'm not a fan. I'm not gonna be, so it's literally I'm like, publicist, click. I got my picture, got my client over, click, boom, bang, got. And we're like, we'll talk to you later. See ya. And then sure enough, later on in there, we're doing the Tommy Chong thing and hanging out like you should be with Tommy Chong. And funnily enough, this was the last party before COVID. Talk about bucket list. It was right. It was February before the COVID conversation was out, so people were passing things, And Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong passed me a thing, and I'm not usually a fangirl, but I kept it. I framed that, and I have it.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
I would too.
That's some cred, right? Like the kids are like, I'm not usually impressed, but wow, Mom.
Well, girls, this is so much fun, but we have to close out because I have a meeting. And Tracy, I'd love to speak with you tomorrow, if that would be great, because I have shows all the way until 6 o'clock. So,
and I would love to see you come back. Right.
I would love
And
to
I'd
do
love to
that.
see you come back and talk about how traveling has inspired you within your work as well. It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I'd love to, and just about in life, things you learn from traveling and people that you
Exactly.
talk to and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I've learned way more than I've taught for sure, and meeting people from all kinds of places. So, yeah, I'd love to do that, guys. Thank you so much.
That'd
Yeah,
be
thank
great.
you. And I'm going to spotlight you. And for Kathy and anybody else out there who wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
So yeah, Kathy, please do. I would love to chat with you some more. You can reach me at Lamourie, Lamourie, at gmail.com, or find me on LinkedIn. They've spelled my name right there. So if you message me on LinkedIn or add me on LinkedIn or message me on Facebook or, on Instagram, any of the platforms, my name's kind of rare. So if you Google me, you'll find me. And if you Google me, you'll also find all kinds of, you'll learn a lot more about me and what I do as well. So, but I'd love to have a conversation with anybody that's interested, and any power women, no matter what you're doing. And again, interior design, I'm not joking. I've got like current media opportunities. Call me.
Woo! Do you want to share your phone number, or are you good with the information you gave out?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I wish I don't have my Beverly Hills number offhand in my head, but my Toronto number is 289-788-5881. And if you email me, there's a Beverly Hills number too, 424.
I have it actually.
Can you say it?
Yeah, I've got it. It is 424-444-8052.
Perfect.
And I will post them up here. So we've got Kathy is calling you on Friday. Yeah, love it.
All right. Excellent. Looking forward. Beautiful.
And I'm going to call you tomorrow at 4 if that works for you.
And if anybody wants to WhatsApp me, it will be the 289-788-5881.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put your phone numbers here.
I love how we've all connected, Kathy, everything, It's wonderful.
It's amazing. It is.
And Diane, again, seriously, 3 cheers for your book. I'm going to go and watch the beginning again to see and I can get it from Amazon or from your page or.
Amazon's just fine.
Okay. I'm going to order that for sure.
Thank you so much. When we meet in person, I'll sign it.
Excellent. I say when, yes.
Sorry, I'm just typing up your numbers. Okay. All right, here are the phone numbers that you can contact Tracy. Let's just say them again: 289-788-5881 or 424-444-8052. We've got them right here.
Great.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kathy, for engaging with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tracy, I'll give you a call tomorrow around 4, and Kathy will be calling you Friday.
Okay, and we'll talk to you all soon. Diane, I'll be reading your book soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tracy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So much fun, right?
Yeah, that was great. It's full of energy, but what a beautiful, and she's a real person. She's from the heart, like all of us. She really works from the heart.
Yes, she definitely does. When she was saying about someone authentic, I thought, this is you. You are totally authentic and real. And what a journey she's had.
I know. I think a documentary should be done on this.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I might have to talk to my friend who does documentaries.
I was going to say maybe I should start researching that, but no, I don't think so. I think I have to keep me busy.
Oh, that's right.
Kathy writes, great job. By the way, that's a beautiful picture, Kathy.
Yeah, that is.
Very nice. Beautiful couple. And we'll be seeing Kathy tomorrow on What's Trending. And then afterwards, she has her first Talking Heads episode. How about that?
That is so exciting. And what an interior designer she is. So I'm just putting that out there for y'all. Make sure to see the show and see what she can do.
And let me just back this up just for 1 second. So you and I met because of Zane Carson Carruth, who I've heard from a number of times, and she's been busy with the Houston Rodeo. You actually went to that. Mm-hmm. So she introduced me to you. You introduced me to your daughter, Rachel, and Rachel introduced us to Kathy.
And we've introduced them to Tracy.
And by the way, I don't know how Tracy found us. I forgot to ask her that because I didn't know her. And on the other show that we had, Kim Adele Randall, she didn't know her either. So somehow she found us, which is so cool because she's a publicist and she found us.
Yay. See, USA Global TV is awesome. It should be the #1 rated live streaming shows, all of them in America and
Definitely.
abroad.
And abroad. Thank you, Kathy. She writes, thanks. I feel like I was on the show. You are on the show, Kathy. You might not be right here on the stage, but you're definitely here. I feel your presence with me for sure. So,
well,
all right,
I better
Diane.
let you get to your next show.
Yeah, actually, I don't have my next show.
You have a
I have a meeting with Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler, because we're talking about the new line of jewelry that I'm going to be bringing out under Dr. JACALYN. So,
congratulations!
Thanks. We've already picked 5 pieces, and then these pieces will be customizable for anyone who orders them. Margie does everything; everything's custom. So, we'll have. I don't have the pieces with me right here, but that's what I'm going to be doing. And then we're coming back with the Business Talk Show. And following that, we have 3 Talking Heads shows today. We've got Al Cini, Jean Keegan-Daly, and Mariska Duprier.
Wow. Great. They're all going to be awesome.
So, Diane, I'm going to spotlight you. And again, look at all the press you're getting, Diane. I love it. You are making stuff happen, girl. Fantastic.
Thank you.
And congratulations on getting the publicist as well.
Thank you. It's all very, very exciting. And being on your shows it's like a dream come true. So thank you, Dr. JACALYN. And everybody, you can reach me at DiANNFloydBOEHM. That's the easiest way to do, or else on USA Global TV.
Thanks, Diane. And we haven't fleshed the whole thing out yet, but we do have a new show that's coming. And I want everyone to know I'll be doing something and I get a message from Diane. As soon as I get a message from Diane, I'm like, those brain cells are working on 1,000% because she has so many incredible ideas, whether it's about guests or shows or topics. And I know you've been doing a lot of gardening and you come up with some great ideas. So the other day she reached out to me, and what was your latest idea?
That we should have a live Christian show and with guests on that inspire everyone to end up having a beautiful life.
And I went back to her, said, when do you think you want to do this? And she was like, oh, 2023. I'm like, no, right away. Like everything I do is now. I'm like, we're doing it now, even though you're already on 3 shows, Diane. And then you had another great idea. We interviewed Jigsaw Grant. And what was your idea?
That we should, April is, you're so sweet. April is Autism Month, and Grant is high level, I guess they call it, with autism. But I thought it'd be really wonderful for Grant and his mom to be on the show because he is the youngest eco artist in the United States, and he's doing phenomenal things. And I think he's an inspiration to everyone. And I think people who actually have autism will discover that, as Grant says, autism doesn't define him. He defines autism. And I just love it when he says that.
It's fantastic. And after he was on our show, totally unrelated, you shared with me that he was on the History Channel last week.
Yes, he was on the History Channel. And he's also, if you remember on the show, he shared with us, which I think is incredible, that he's designing Goya as a huge, it's based in America product that, a lot of us get a lot of canned goods, beans and so forth from, but it's international as well. And he's designing the new logo for Goya.
So incredible.
It's amazing, right? So
I did
watch out, Campbell's. new one's coming.
I heard from Julie and Grant, and they want to do a special event on autism. So we're in the process of putting this together.
This is so good. And, it's going to be amazing because he also, as has cancer, and he is battling it, and it's so positive, and he's, I think 65% cancer free now. So he's just an inspiration all the way around. Right.
Yes, he is, Diane. And so are you. So keep gardening because these ideas keep coming. That they're fantastic.
The poison ivy is going to keep me away for a while.
Kathy writes, very cool. Yes, yes, it is definitely cool. And we're so happy that you're here on the show with us, Kathy.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Every time I look at my bathroom, I think of her now because she put up a picture of how she redid a whole entire bathroom, and I'm like, oh, that's what I need. Of course, I tell my husband he saw dollar signs.
Well, when I think of the pictures that Kathy shared, they're so incredible.
Yes.
I love the one with the closet. I wish I still had it up here, but I don't.
Wow.
I don't
That
have much
closet was
space.
amazing. And
Just
then
that chair, the
chaise
chaise.
lounge, right? Because my
Oh.
mom had one similar, and we called it the hairy chair because it was this fur that was on it, and yeah,
Keep
I
up
could
the
write
great work.
books about that hairy chair, actually. We won't go there.
No, that's another day, another time. All right, Diane, it's time for us to close out for now. I got to go talk about the jewelry. And I look forward to seeing everyone back for the Business Talk show with Al Cini. That is coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be off the air until then. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Kathy. Bye.